speaker last month, if you remember, said his parents, and he listed everything his parents thought, which would put them quite liberal. And they said they're conservatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true too. I mean, that is true. There is some, there is some people are confused about, no surprise there, about, and people don't have what we call in political, we have constraint. So that if you're liberal on one issue, that you're necessarily going to be liberal on another issue, and people, so that you can be back and forth. So part of it is an issue of sort of a comfort level, I think, with the term. Liberal clearly has a, I don't know if progressive has a better flavor for people, a response in terms of, how you think about it. But yeah, it's that kind of question that says that. But we do know, too, that the parties, one thing that's happening is those people, there's fewer of those people than there used to be who are more confused. But still, most people actually say they're moderate. That's the largest grouping, people who say they're middle of the road. Yeah.
Where do new voters fall in this, and how do they change all of this? Or is there any,
I don't have any data on new voters yet.
Okay.
That's in the collection, yeah. Yeah, I don't have any, I can't get any data on who votes, so one thing I wanted to do was look at the file and see what new voters look like and stuff like that, but I can't do that until after the election and I know who voted. And that takes the secretary, it takes the counties a couple of months. They can't put all that data in. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Carol.
Observation question. The observation on the congressional race down south, you said voters respond to the changing set of conditions. In my opinion, Mr. Teague, the Democrat winner, was a much stronger candidate than the Democrats have offered for years and years. Very substantive guy, lots of money. Mr. Tinsley was burdened by a fair number of things, including living in Santa Fe. So the clearly conservative voters in the South had a place to go.
You're saying, yeah, he was the Democratic candidate was very conservative ideologically. But I think John Arthur Smith was a good candidate in 2002.
Yeah, my thought there is, I'm very fond of Senator Smith. He candidate dynamics, and he didn't have the money. And Mr. Teague had, plenty of money. The question: did you, in your literature gathering, has anyone given you the newspaper bag?
Oh, the sleeve of the journal?
With the NRA
just a quick aside from that, if anybody saw that, we actually lost about 100 subscriptions at the journal because of that.
You mean the secure sleeve?
Yeah, we got 1,000 phone calls, and we lost about 100 subscriptions.
That's amazing because what? Wilson has done that every year. And
we saw that ad every election cycle.
Yeah,
and this is the first time the NRA bought it.
No one ever remembers the target.
The NRA thing apparently was, well, it was done in Denver as well. I was told, so it was a broader program for whatever things were. Wasting money apparently.
Yeah, have you ever? Did that happen in 2006 or 2004? With
I don't think anybody noticed. But this
time was the first time people really noticed. That's
well, also on the same with the journal, we had an ad on our website that was a pro-Obama, sponsored by AFSCME ad, and we lost 17 subscriptions to the website from conservatives who were offended by that ad. And we lost 100 for the NRA ad and 17 for the AFSCME ad.
So you tell them you're a commercial press?
Yeah, well, we told them that's how we pay for stuff, but I thought it was pretty interesting. That's how it shook out this year.
That is really it. The web's just been a totally fascinating, the way the web has been used this election. I got online and Googled, Acorn election issue, and, go to whatever website pops up for a news article, and next to it is, freedomwatchers.org ad against Heinrich. Did you guys see that? It was just great the way you'd read something and an ad would be right there for the politics. And you could just click on it and go to their site, watch the whole ad. And I mean, it was just amazing sort of how they're integrating. I mean, I think from my perspective, it's much harder to monitor advertising and who's getting what once you add in the web component.
Obama's use of the internet was quite clearly brilliant and changed the game. Are there any models that have come your way, state level races or congressional level races, where those candidates have set a new standard for internet use?
I don't think so.
You haven't heard of anything?
Not at that level. But, you know, that doesn't mean it's not there, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question, your opinion. I know you don't have any stats, but do you have any opinion on how, I'm not asking you about Sarah Palin herself, about how her choice affected the outcome, McCain's, I don't think it was really her choice, his choice, but anyway, he got her, so.
Yeah, you know, we actually have a question, we're very curious about that too, and so we have a question on our surveys asking people how ready the vice presidential candidates would have been or are to be president. So I don't have anything on that per se, but historically, when we look at aggregate level data, vice presidents don't matter. You know, so you can remember back to Lloyd Benson, and he didn't help Dukakis at all in Texas, though he won his seat hands down that year. And then, so it's rare that you know, we don't think it does, but there is, you know, one piece of literature out there that suggests there may be something at a micro level we haven't thought about. So we're actually trying to look at that question with New Mexican voters to see if that made any sort of difference. Yeah.
One of the things I'm hearing a lot about post-election is how critical the Hispanic vote was. For example, on Sunday, the Republican commentator that they had, that they were interviewing, Martinez, I believe, in Florida, was saying, he was saying, you know, the Republican Party is going to have to take the Hispanic vote more seriously if they want to win elections in the future. Do you have thoughts on that? I mean, it seems like New Mexico, I mean, we're pretty heavily Hispanic, so it's not news to us, but yet it seems to be quite
Shouldn't be news
surprising to on the national level.
I know, you know, it's really different when you start looking at New Mexico and you compare it to now. I mean, in some sense, you know, I think it's like something like 62% of Hispanics in the state identify as registered Democrats. So that's just if I take the voter file and I match it just by Hispanic surname, which is, you know, pretty rough, but it's a pretty good indicator actually overall. I found that about 25% of people who have a Hispanic last name don't identify as Hispanic, and about 5% of those with non-Hispanic names identify as Hispanic. So when you add those together in the data file, it comes out to about the same number as the Hispanics in the data file. So, so I find that, you know, in New Mexico, between a quarter and a third of all voters are Hispanic in terms of voters. About 43% of the state is Hispanic. Right, but a lot of them don't vote, and it's also age dependent. So if you know, under 18, you got to sort of get those people, and then they're a lower group in terms of turnout. Right, it's just a group. So about a quarter to a third in an election like this, it's certainly a third off your election. It can get as low as a quarter of the voters are Hispanic. If you go to the North New Mexico, you have to have a coalition of Hispanics and Anglos to win the race, or you won't, you know, or you can get into trouble. And that's what they found, at least in the special election going back to 1998 with Redmond and Eric Serna, and I remember, and Carol Miller. And I think Carol Miller did about as well as she did this time, but it threw the race to Redmond in that case. So you sort of need a coalition of voters to actually win. I mean, in New Mexico, you know, depending on what, certainly statewide races, Hispanics, I think, are pretty reliable Democratic voters. But they haven't necessarily always been at the presidential level, clearly, because, you know, we have these big swings.